It's time for Recipe of the Day. Lamb lovers, you have got to try making homemade mint jelly. It is so easy and so much better than anything from a jar. And if you've never even had it before, it is just such a fun treat. So what is mint jelly? It really is just a jelly that's made from mint and water and sugar and lemon juice. Also fresh mint steeped in water, and then you add the sugar and the lemon juice and pectin. Pectin is what is being used for it to set up like a jelly. So it's not made with gelatin like a Jell-O. It's more like a jam or jelly that's made with mint. Cool, right? So if you've had mint sauce before, you might be wondering if this is the same thing, and no, they are not the same. Mint sauce, you actually keep the mint right in there. It's not strained out to be like this smooth, pretty jelly like you have with mint jelly. And also mint sauce is more vinegary or savory, and mint jelly is very sweet. So they are different things, even though they both have a lot of the same ingredients. Before I jump into how to make it, I will tell you that if you're looking at the picture of this, you see that it is this bright green color, but that is completely optional. That comes from some food coloring that's added, not from the mint itself. And so if you don't add the food coloring, you will have a more pale yellow color, which is often what you see in the jars of mint jelly sold at the store. It'll say natural or dye free, and then it has a more yellow color. But if you want it to have this festive green color, then you're going to use food coloring for that. Oh, I'm also going to tell you that a lot of mint jelly recipes tell you how to can it, and I was going to do that, but instead I decided to pop it in the freezer and see what happens, and it's the most brilliant thing ever, and here is why. If you can it, then when you want to use it, you open the can, and then the can has to get used up before it goes bad, right? If you freeze it, it turns out that the jelly doesn't actually freeze solid. It retained its kind of jelly texture, and so you can just go in and scoop out the amount that you need, put the rest back into its sealed container in the freezer, and then you just have the amount that you want to use that day. See what I mean? It's so, so cool. And it's just an interesting little science experiment. You put this jelly in the freezer, and then you check on it the next day, and it is still kind of wiggly. Really neat. Okay, now how do you make mint jelly? So you're starting with spearmint, not peppermint. You could use lemon mint if that's what you have. That'll work too. Now, in the United States, usually if fresh herbs are labeled as mint, it is spearmint. Peppermint will be labeled as peppermint. So if your package just says mint, you probably have the right thing. If you are picking this from a garden or somebody has given you mint and you want to know, the best way to tell is really by the smell and the taste. Peppermint has that much stronger flavor and smell, kind of like a cooling sensation because it has a higher menthol content. We don't want that. We want that sort of milder, sweeter mint sort of flavor. Okay, you're going to need 1.5 ounces of chopped fresh mint leaves with the stem. So 1.5 ounces of the whole thing. And this is because we're steeping the mint and then draining it. So it's totally fine that the stems are in there. Now that 1.5 ounces is going to be the equivalent of about 2 cups of the chopped mint leaves and stems together. And then you're putting those into a medium saucepan along with 2 cups of water. Bring that up to a boil over high heat and then take it off the heat and let it steep for 30 minutes. Then you're going to set a fine mesh sieve over a bowl and strain the mixture through the sieve. You want the liquid underneath. Do not strain this over the sink. I have done that before, not with making mint jelly, but when I was doing dried mushrooms once, and I was so sad because that dry mushroom liquid is like liquid gold, right? So you want to catch this in the bowl underneath and then rinse out your saucepan, and you're going to measure just 1 2/3 cup of your liquid. You don't want all of it. You just want this exact amount because that is what I've tested and that is what is going to set up. So we make a little bit extra because of boiling and everything happening. We want to make sure we end up with the 1 2/3 cups that we need exactly. So measure 1 2/3 cup of your liquid into that rinsed out saucepan, and then you're going to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice and 3.5 cups of sugar. I know that's a lot, but this is like a nice sweet jam jelly kind of thing. Okay. Now bring that to a boil over high heat, stirring it occasionally, getting that sugar to dissolve. And then once it comes up to a boil, you want to boil it for a whole minute while stirring constantly. Then we're going in with the pectin, and we're using liquid pectin here. And I'm going to tell you, when I was researching this recipe online and looking at a lot of other versions, a lot of the comments had complaints where their jelly didn't set up. And then a lot of the discussion ends up being about what kind of pectin they used. And so I'm just going to tell you exactly which brand I used. They're not a sponsor or anything, but then you'll know that you're using the thing that I actually tested the recipe with. You know what I mean? So I used the liquid pectin that is Certo brand. So Certo Premium Liquid Fruit Pectin. That is what I used. And it was one package of that. And the package is 3 ounces. And I'll also tell you that they sell that at my regular grocery store. I didn't have to go anywhere special or order it online or anything like that. It was there in the baking aisle. So you'll stir that 3 ounces of liquid pectin into your minty sugar solution there. And then you're going to bring that back up to a boil and you're going to stir continuously for another minute while it boils. Then take it off the heat and use a big spoon to skim off any foam that's on top. And then if you want to add the food coloring, you do that now. 1 to 2 drops, totally optional. And you can decide for yourself how colorful you want it to be, 1 or 2 drops. I did the 2 drops to make that beautiful green color for the picture. Okay. And then, like I said, I don't recommend canning this because freezing it is better. So you're just going to pour it into an 8 by 10 inch baking dish, cover with plastic wrap and refrigerate until it's set. It's going to be 4 to 6 hours. And then you can use it immediately, or you can transfer it to an airtight container and refrigerate it for up to 2 weeks, or you can freeze it for up to 2 months and it's going to continue to have that jelly-like texture. You can thaw it in the fridge or at room temperature, scoop out what you need. You can actually even use it while it's still frozen because it's still jelly, but it's going to be really cold and it has kind of like a white cast to the coloring. So thaw it for a few minutes on the counter or in the fridge and then use it. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date. So it's helpful to know that today is December 17th of 2024. You can also subscribe to this show there if you want a new recipe of the day every day to inspire you about what you can make that day, that week coming up for holidays or whatever's coming up in our lives. Subscribe to the show. You get a new idea every single day. You can subscribe right there at cookthestory.com/ROTD, or go to whatever your favorite podcast app is on your phone and search for Recipe of the Day. You will find me. I'm everywhere. And I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all new chicken cookbook. And from this podcast, Recipe of the Day, I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.